Thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Now, we start with the shortage of professional teachers at Sabonjiba DA Basic School in the Tatale Sangiulu district of the northern region, because that has left pupils at a dire disadvantage, with only 2 teachers handling kindergarten 1, 2 basic 6, and trained volunteers stepping to fill the gap. But the results are deeply worrying. Lessons are falling short, and pupils are unknowingly repeating critical errors that could haunt them for years to come. Here are excerpts from JoyNews' latest series, Crumbling Start, produced by Emmanuel Jivenu.
For pupils of Sabonjiba DA Basic School, having a teacher is a privilege.
This my here.
2 trained teachers shoulder the responsibility of educating pupils from kindergarten to basic 6. Volunteers like Thomas, a senior high school graduate, step in to assist, but the results are troubling.
So I'm coming here to teaching ABCD, to describe yourself, to the 1, 2, 3, 2. So that's why that I'm coming to be teaching for my children. A, B, C. Oh, sorry. Let me check. A, B, C, D.
Thomas tries his best,
F.
but his grasp of the English language and teaching methodology raises concerns.
J, K, M.
In one instance, the alphabet L was missing from the blackboard. Worse still, pupils are thought to pronounce M and N the same way, and these children repeat these errors with confidence.
H, I, J, K, N.
This is heartbreaking. These children are set up to fail before they even begin. I could not stand by and watch the blunder persist, so I intervened.
There's an alphabet missing. What's it?
H, I, J, K, N.
L. Where's L? L is not there. So write the L there. Write the L. Okay, so this is how to write the L. L is written this way.
The situation grows grimmer.
Yeah, you get it.
I get it.
The school has only 3 classrooms, forcing 2 different classes to share a single space. Teachers struggle to maintain focus and discipline while handling multiple levels at once.
We are a lot of teachers. The whole school from KG1 to P6, we are only 2 teachers. Imagine, if you compare with me, the KG2 to P6, 2 teachers taking from KG2 to P6 is a burden to the teachers. We have KG1 to P6. And when you look at the structure standing there, is 2 classes in 1, which is very difficult for a teacher to be inside 1 class with 2 classes combined teaching.
For pupils in kindergarten, their classroom is nothing more than a fenced area with blocks intended for construction now serving as furniture. These blocks were donated 5 years ago during the height of campaigning, but they were never used as promised.
The little furniture there, they all like to sit on it. It will be a problem. They'll be there fighting, beating each other. Then if I didn't go there and arrange the blocks, I will arrange the blocks for them, to those who didn't get a sitting place to sit down. Then I put some blocks inside the classroom for them to sit down. Then have a learning successfully. Okay. The campaign time, the last election campaign time, that he came and molded the blocks there, that he want to build a classroom for the community or for the school. Then, after winning, he didn't come back again. So it's the MP who molded the blocks down, and it's still lying down. I decided with my staff that now, I even called the PTA meeting. Then we talk. I informed the office, the CISO. Then they said, in case the blocks are lying down, spoiling, and they are not doing anything, we can use it to what? To make a runner pit. Or as we are saying, the KG is not having a sitting place, we can use it to fence around so that they can be sitting inside. So we use some of the blocks to fence the KG that will make it hard for them to be inside.
The lack of support does not end there. The school is not part of the school feeding program, forcing pupils to walk home for meals. Many do not return, further disrupting the education.
Our school feeding, we have written a letter. I've come to the head teacher. We have written a letter a lot to the district director, but no help, no voice coming out for us to help.
The community is trying to keep the school afloat. Parents pay volunteers like Thomas in kind, working on their farm as laborers.
They said they will sit down and decide either they will do contribution, they will contribute and pay them, or they will be helping them in their farms, the volunteers.
Some of our children who are far away and they have completed, they are here, and we beg them so that when they help the head teacher to teach for some periods, then we, the parents, we help them in our farm so that we go and clear some land. We just raise some young men. This is what we used to help those who volunteer to help us.
The head teacher and community leaders are calling on the government to act. They want more teachers, adequate classrooms, and inclusion in the school feeding program.
A teacher is to teach somebody to also become somebody in future. Yes. So if I'm here to teach the children to become somebody more than me in future, and there's no place for me or for the children to learn and also become somebody in future, then how will I be happy? So that made me sad whenever I come here to teach.
Our people in Sabunjira are crying. Whatever is here, we are looking for the government to come to our aid so that they will help us, so that our children will also get shade and sit and remove from the sitting under the tree, sitting under the shade, so that it will motivate some of our children so that they will also learn and go and be somebody in future. We are crying, government, come and into our aid.
Be fair to us. I say again, be fair to us.
Be fair to us, Sabunjira people. Be fair to us, government. Be fair to us.
Basic education is the foundation of every child's future. But in Sabunjira, that foundation is crumbling. For these children, the dream of a brighter tomorrow seems distant. It is a call to action for policymakers to prioritize schools like this before it's too late. Emmanuel Jivenu, JoyNews, Tatale Sangoli, Northern Region.
This my hand.
Well, let's explore this further. Join me now on Zoom is Kwesi Kwarteng, his former PRO of the Ministry of Education. We appreciate your time here on News 6. Now, I know that the Ministry of Education in the past allocated funds for furniture in basic schools. I'm wondering where did the allocations go to, and why does this issue persist?
The question is that the ministry in the past allocated what? Funds for the procurement of chairs.
Yes, for some of the basic schools across the country. Was it the case that you missed this specific school?
Oh, I'm sure maybe the producers should have given me hindsight of this discussion, because I could have sought more insight. You see, there are hundred thousands of schools, and the furniture crisis is very real. I recall on top of my head, there were about almost 1.5 million deficits furniture. And I've always maintained that the challenges within our education sector has been systemic. So even though you may provide some intervention, you may not be able to resolve all. It is even the more reason why mostly the expectation that the district assemblies also step in. I will not be able to give a case by case or school by school account of it, unless maybe I verify and subsequently gets to you.
Okay.
But I am sure, and I know that there were some distribution of furniture that were made across the length and breadth of the country, in particular some schools within parts of the northern region. But I'll need to confirm the data that was used and the criteria. But certainly I admit that there will still be some deficit, because it's a very huge problem that has been within the education sector. And I don't blame any government, but what I want to say is that governments, the previous years could have also done more.
I'm wondering, moving forward, what concrete steps do you propose can be taken to ensure that this situation do not persist in the country?
Well, I am of the view that, particularly, for instance, this new government can do an infrastructure audit and also do furniture audit in all existing schools, even including the schools under trees. And based on the infrastructure and furniture audit, they will be able to have a comprehensive report on that, and then based on that, tackle or address it aggressive. You have the problem. That is where you will be able to provide an intervention. Other than that, government may quickly use a knee-jerk approach and go and resolve this one. But the next day we may see another video from a different media house, and I don't think that is how we want to solve such a systemic problem.
Looking at long term, what sustainable funding or policy model should Ghana adopt to permanently address this issue?
So there should be an impact all schools so that we comprehensively address this issue.
Thank you so much, Kwesi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You were just making that point. We lost you briefly, but we can hear you now.
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Thank you so much for making that point.
I'm done. Yeah.
We're just looking at how best we can deal with the situation across the country. We will be bringing you this series throughout our bulletins as we look at what exactly can be done. Join me now. I also have Dr. Peter Anti. He will be joining me shortly. But then the Ministry of Education, the minister has been addressing this issue. Haruna Idrisu, he's quite confident that this is something that they look forward to dealing with in the future. He has been also going around some of the basic schools in the country as he took office. Let's listen to his plan on how to deal with the infrastructure deficits in our schools.
We have an infrastructure deficit of about 5,000 schools still under trees. There will be massive investment in education infrastructure. The first part of it will be unveiled in the 2025 budget statement by the Honorable Minister for Finance. We'll work to close the gap. There is national poverty in terms of the foundational literacy between urban rural schools and private public schools. We will invest to correct it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we are working our lines to get in touch with Peter. Once we do, we'll bring that conversation we promised you. But away from that, the Ministry of Finance on Monday disbursed a payment in cash coupon of more than 60 billion Ghana cedis to all domestic debt exchange program bondholders. Additionally, a payment in kind portion of more than 3 billion Ghana cedis has been credited to bondholders' securities account in accordance with the terms outlined in the DDEP memorandum. Now, this was after the President John Dramani Mahama directed that the Ministry of Finance was to settle the outstanding coupons for the DDEP and build a financial buffer through the sinking fund. Now, we have been joined on Zoom. Joining me now is Senior Lecturer of UCC School of Business, Dr. Seram Kwao. Thank you so much for your time here on News Desk. I'm just wondering, the government, we know they have settled the latest DDEP coupon payment, both in cash and in kind. From a financial management perspective, how does this impact investor confidence in Ghana's domestic bond?
All right. Thank you very much. Good morning to you and the listeners. It's good news for us to hear that the government is trying to manage the domestic debts and the external debts that we have in the country. Over the years on your station, I have raised the issue that the way to manage the domestic debts or the external debts that we face as a country is to ensure that we have the sinking fund that has been established by the Public Financial Management Act. Bringing this back will bring a number of benefits to the investors. Investor confidence will go up, knowing very well that the risk of default is lower. It's going to provide liquidity to the investors and increase the form of investment that we need in the country to attract other people. As we speak, the country is out of the international financial market, that's the capital market. And so this measure that has been put up would reduce the default risks that the investors may perceive and increase the confidence that government is going to honor its debts and ensure that there is fiscal discipline in the economy. And so it's a better way of managing our debts and making sure that we put some amount of money aside so that when the debts fall due, we will be able to use that money to pay the debts. And so it's a good news for us, and it tells us that any time that we speak, the politicians also listen to wisdom.
But how sustainable really is the sinking fund?
Yeah, so when you look at the operations of the sinking fund, it operates in such a way that every revenue or profit that you make, percentage of that amount goes into the sinking fund. And when the money goes into the sinking fund, the money does not stay there. The money is used for other investments in the economy or outside the shores of the country. In that way, that money is earning interest, and the interest is also earning interest. And that is the compound interest that we speak about all the time. In that way, you have enough amount of money that you can accumulate to pay the debt when they fall due.
Now, while this payment has been made, there are concerns about the sustainability of Ghana's debt servicing. Now, based on current revenue projections, do you believe that government can maintain this momentum?
I strongly believe that government can maintain this momentum. Looking at the previous budgets that have been read, it's a continuous budget, and so funds have been allocated for this. Subsequent governments will also have to ensure that they follow the same one. No matter the amount of revenue that we have, there is the need for us to ensure that we put some percentage aside that we will invest, that will earn further interest for us. And so this move is an excellent move. It's kudos to the ministry and the government and those who have taken this decision. We cannot do without debt. But then the debt that we have, how judiciously are we using that particular debt? And if you use it for capital investment, the returns will not come today. The returns will come much later in the future. And so going for this is a good news for us. I'm excited that this has come up and we will all see the good fruits that it will bring on board.
The decision to pay part of the debt through kind, does it suggest any liquidity constraints? Let's look at international best practices. Is that the case?
When you look at international best practices and looking at it from the viewpoint of our Sale of Goods Act, the Sale of Goods Act, Section 1, Subsection 1 of the Sale of Goods Act, it says that a contract for the sale of goods is a contract where the seller agrees to transfer the property in the goods to the buyer for a consideration called price, consisting wholly or partly of money. When you go to our Companies Act, it also says that payment for shares can be made in kind and it can be made in cash. And so these are practices that exist all over the world. And once those who are involved in the debt management accept that the payment in kind is also a way of making sure that they receive some returns on the bonds that they hold, that is a good news for us. I am just worried, my dear, about the situation where government is trying to manage the debts through the capital market. The same way government entities such as GOL, SIC are also listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. But we have government meddling in the management of these entities by the appointment of the MDs of these entities, violating the very rules the stock exchange has established, violating the laws of the country, that is the Companies Act of 2019. And that might push investors away from the market. So as much as we are trying to manage the debt through the sinking fund, which is laudable, the financing scheme is such that the bonds that we raise are loans that we take, we pay interest on it. But the shares that are bought in these companies, we don't pay interest on it. If the companies are profitable, that is when we make some amount of profit in terms of dividend. And if we sell the shares, we get the capital gains from it. So we are working in one direction, trying to ensure that we pay our debt. In the other vein, the other financing aspect, that is equity, which government will not need to borrow any amount of money to do the work. We are trying to muddy those places, and I think government will have to look at it carefully.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time here on News Desk, just giving us a sense of what we should look forward to. Now, away from that, President John Dramani Mahama is expected to join parents, teachers, heads of institutions, civil society organizations, and other relevant stakeholders today in Ho, the Volta regional capital, for the National Education Forum. Now, in the run-up to the elections, President John Dramani Mahama promised to reform Ghana's education sector, which he said had been plagued with many challenges. Now, a few days after the election, he reiterated his commitment to reforming the sector from kindergarten to tertiary institutions, now including vocational and technical training institutions as well. Now, let's find out how far that progress is going. Max Agraba joins us live from the Volta Serene Hotel in Ho, where the event is taking place. Maxwell, I'm sure you're enjoying the atmosphere, but what exactly is happening as we speak?
National Education Forum will be taking place. It has actually started, and President John Mahama is expected here shortly. But as you can see, parents, teachers, members of civil society organizations, all the relevant stakeholders are gathered here today at the Volta Serene Hotel, where the launch will be taking place, and then further engagement will happen. We're privileged to have with us here members of the committee. I have with me Dr. Samuel Owuku, and then also I have the Executive Director for Education Watch, Kofi Asare, who is also a member of the committee, also here with us. Let's start first of all with you. Okay, let me start with Kofi. Kofi, we want to find out first of all how the work, what the work has been like, so far.
Well, after days of intensive planning, we are rolling out the first consultation, which is the launch of the National Education Forum, and also the national level consultative discussion with stakeholders across the country. After this, we're going to have zonal engagement across the country, where all citizens from this community level all the way to the regional level will congregate and participate in discussions aimed at building consensus on key approaches towards resolving major issues in our education system.
So before I come to Dr. Ewuku, I want to find out what are some of the major issues that have come up so far. I know a lot of people would mention the free senior high school, policy. We want to know which other issues have come up so far.
Well, even ahead of the national launch and then the stakeholder engagements, we put out an email eliciting proposals from citizens far and wide. We crossed the 1,000 mark within days. And a majority of the issues congregate around basic education. We see an interest in Ghanaians seeing improvement in basic education, especially the quality of basic education served in the northern part of the country, in Western North, in Oti, in underserved districts and regions. Equity, I think, is big on this agenda, and it tells us that Ghanaians are more concerned about how inequities or how our education system is producing inequality or deepening inequalities in our society, and I need to ensure that we show up the quality of access and also quality of basic education in the private part of the country to be at par with the so-called endowed parts of our country.
That's interesting because we have a new JoyNews. We have a new documentary coming up called Crumbling Stats, which deals with some of the issues that you're talking about right now. It's interesting to know that. But let me find out from Dr. Samuel Ewuku also. Are you able to put a figure to the number of memoranda that you've received so far?
Yes. As Kofi just mentioned, we put up this email out, and so far we've received about 1,501 exactly. Just before I came talking to you, it's 1,501 responses across the country and also from the diaspora. In addition to that, in addition to that, we have also received the individuals in the group. They've also received individual evidence, papers from groups that they'll be working with. I received about 3 papers from organizations in the United States. They are organizations working in Ghana. They've also shared evidence to support the work that we are doing generally. Yeah.
And what are some of the key issues that stand out from what the people have said?
Let me see. I can talk about 10, but I'm not sure my brain will take me that far. So I know free SHS is number 1 on the list, and at that they are talking about quality. What does it actually mean? I think one of the papers say we should rethink what we mean by quality education in Ghana. And then there's a talk about teacher autonomy of schools, school leaders, governing councils, and school boards. And then there's a talk about food, feeding in the senior high schools. Then when you come down to curriculum, they mention a need for reform at the basic level. Here they're specifically talking about the KG, primary and junior high, because according to, I think about 5 I've read, I think it's time to be reviewed. Curriculum generally is reviewed every 5 years. The one we have now is more than 5 years. So they are calling for it to be reviewed. There's a talk about teacher motivation and teacher welfare. they've also talked about infrastructure generally. And here they mention physical infrastructure. And I think I can count 10 I've read so far, talk about what Kofi mentioned, the northern part is deprived compared to the southern part. That gap needs to be bridged. And then tech infrastructure, right? Because the way the world is going, there's a talk about we having a revolutionary reform in that area as well. Yes, I think that's how far my brain can take me so far. But there are a lot of suggestions coming from citizens, and I want to use this platform to actually ask citizens to actually complete or share their views through the email. It is nef@moe.gov.gh, and then we need everybody's view to make this transformation for sustainable future work. Thank you.
I'll come back to you. But Mr. Kofi Asare, from where you sit, 20 years in this space, Executive Director, Africa Education Watch, what are some of the recommendations, or from where you sit, what are some of the recommendations that you see being implemented after the work of this, this committee or this forum?
Having reviewed some of the proposals, one thing that cuts across is the need to target our policies. The reason why there is inequality, there's a divide in quality education provisioning between the north and south, amongst the deprived and then urban areas. It's primarily because policies have been straitjackets, wholesale policies. They haven't been sufficiently targeted, and some of them not targeted at all. And so running through, I see recommendations that points to us having more targeted policies within the pre-tertiary space than the generic wholesale policies responsible for the divide in quality education between rural areas and urban areas.
And if you say targeted, I've had a lot of arguments, especially regarding the free senior high school, meaning calling for it to be targeted rather than the wholesale approach.
Well, yes, that has been on the table, and obviously one of the issues that have been raised about relating to cost efficiency and sustainable financing of free senior high school. People are recommending that the policy must be targeted so that the poorest of the poor will be given more support, including shopping for prospectus items, so that their inability to shop their prospectus shouldn't deprive their children of education. We know that significant numbers are unable to enroll because they are unable to raise money to pay for their prospectus, which costs up to about 6,000 cedis. So people believe that should be done. Others also believe that, well, we must find a sustainable funding source to continue in the straitjacket way. Others believe that we should find new tax handles purposively, for free senior high school. So these are recommendations coming from far and wide. So as part of our work, we'll be digesting them, sharing our opinions, and then we'll validate everything that comes out from here in Accra, based on which a roadmap or an action plan will be developed. So, yeah.
Thanks for talking.
Welcome.
Doc, you have anything?
Yes, I think just to also add that one of the things that came up is about innovative financing, that people have made few recommendations that respect as well. And the last one that I want to mention is about trainee allowance. Trainee allowance. I think we've seen 5 papers on that as well. People suggesting innovative ways that government can actually make this work for the benefit of our trainees in the nurses colleges and colleges of education. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. So we just had Dr. Samuel Ewuku, and then we also had the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare. Both of them are members of the National Education Reform Committee. They've been working, but today we're going to see the launch of their work. It's going to happen here at the Volta Serene Hotel. Like I mentioned earlier, we have parents here, we have teachers here, we have members from civil society organizations, CSOs, all relevant stakeholders are gathered in this room for the launch. After the launch, the brainstorming and the racking of brains to come up with actionable recommendations that will go a long way to change Ghana's education sector. All of those decisions, will be taken here in this room. And we know that the committee will just have just some days to put together their work and present their final work, to the president. The president is yet to arrive, but he should be arriving shortly here, and then the launch will begin here in the Volta region. So coming to you from the Volta Regional Capital Hall, Maxwell Agbagba, over to you in the studio.
In subsequent bulletins, especially when that National Education Forum officially commences, you could see that they're already set. A lot of individuals there, some key people Maxwell have already spoken to. So we're looking forward to how it will pan out. Let's do some other stories now. We're taking you to the Ashanti region, where the Council of State representative Owusu Obimpeh has assured his community of his preparedness to fight for the completion of stalled projects in the region. Now, the former chairman of the NDC revealed some projects that were lined up by himself and the President John Dramani Mahama years ago are yet to be executed. Now, despite enhanced security, some persons breached security protocols, leading to their arrest. There's more in this report by Nana Jima.
The former Ashanti Regional NDC chairman, Owusu Obimpeh, polled 49 votes against Nana Nkansa Boadu Ayeboafo's 35 votes. Daniel Anefi Yamwa came third with 1 vote, as 1 delegate failed to show up for the election. NDC chairman Augustus Andrews Nanakwesi spoke for the victor.
My branch executives, my constituency executives, my party followers were crying that if we don't win these elections, that's the end of NDC. But from victory to victory, and we are going to win. We thank everyone.
Following the chaos at the first run of the election last week, police had to review security arrangements for the election. Police mounted barricades at all exits leading to the frontage of the Prempeh Assembly Hall. The road linking Asim and its environs to the Roman Hill end of the Central Business District were closed to vehicular traffic. Per security arrangements, only accredited individuals were granted access to the venue. Some political figures were turned away by the police. Frederick Ejay is an aspirant.
And in fact, we've seen that indeed the assurance that the police commander gave, they've gone exactly the way that they promised, and we say kudos to them. As you can see, we have a lot of policemen around, fully armed, and we are pleased with what we are seeing now.
Less than 30 of the 86 delegates had cast their ballots. About 40 of the delegates were bussed to the location, with NDC chairman Nana Akwesi Augustus Andrew leading them. One of the candidates for the election, Nana Akuoko, expressed dissatisfaction.
We all know some of the candidates are either MPP or NDC, and it's not a hidden secret. But this is not the time to exhibit that, because, like I said, it's supposed to be non-partisan. So, passing people around, and we even hear that some will even come and all those things. In fact, I don't think it's a work well for the Council of State election. Before we realize it will become so much partisan that we cannot do anything about it.
3 of the 12 aspirants had issued statements indicating withdrawal from the election, but the EC received notification from only 1 of them. For JoyNews, Nana Chima reporting.
Well, you're also watching News Desk. Once we return from this quick breather, we'll bring you business updates. Please stay tuned.
Actual business here on News Desk. My name is Winston Taki, and at our first business story. The newly appointed administrator of the Minerals Development Fund, Dr. Hannah Bisiu, has promised to work closely with various mining communities as she takes over from Dr. Doris Hammer. According to her, more mining communities will benefit from the fund. She spoke at the official handing over ceremony.
What you should expect from me is to deliver exactly the mandate of the MDF, the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to better the lives of the various the people living in the various mining communities. I think basically to make sure that the purpose for which MDF was established is realized. That is the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I think I just took off as what I am bringing on board. After I meet with the staff, it will be established. So it's there, it's been put, and so as we move, you will find out a time where the nation is struggling to stand up on its feet, a time where Ghanaians expect so much from him, a time where the ordinary Ghanaian also wants to feel the piece of the national cake, a time where the ordinary Ghanaian wants to also have their dignity back, a time where bread and butter matters a lot to the Ghanaian. For him to ask me to come here, it means that he knows what he wants, and all that I would do as a servant is to obey and comply to the letter. So I have meetings with them, and we will take it from there. What are the liabilities? What are the assets? And we will see how we can harness the liabilities and turn them around, for them to be asset, because it was created as an asset, not as a liability. But it's human institution, so we'll find out from there.
Now, moving away from that, Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opare Addo, has assured that youth-led initiatives such as the Entrepreneurial Fund and the Coders Program will be implemented this year to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem. He made this revelation at the launch of the Youth and Women Business Policy Environment Reform Project, spearheaded by the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs and the Investment Climate Reform Facility. Here is more.
According to statistics, about 40% of Ghana's adult population engages in entrepreneurial activities, with a significant number being young entrepreneurs. However, one major challenge facing the progress of the entrepreneurial ecosystem is the lack of tailored policies. To address policy barriers, the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs has launched the Youth and Women Business Policy Environment Reform. This project advocates for reforms that foster innovation, inclusivity, and business growth. Sheriff Gali, Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, shed more light on the project.
The framework seeks to allow ecosystem actors, together with the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, come together, identify where the policy gaps are, and advocate for reforms. So basically, that is the whole Wiper project. What are some of the business policies that are affecting youth and women doing business in Ghana? How can we be able to come out with strategies that we can be able to advocate for reforms? That is why the ICR facility, which is a British Council project funded by the EU, SMV, and GIZ, is supporting us to do now.
The framework, which is expected to be ready by May 2025, aims to deliver a data-driven guide to aid the development of the ecosystem.
The import of this project is to ensure that those gaps in those policy areas are filled, so that the young person can be able to get their business registered, can be able to register and pay their taxes and file, can be able to access funding without necessarily having issues. These are the things he's looking out for. And this is what we have not been doing all of these years.
Meanwhile, Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment, George Opare Addo, outlined a number of initiatives expected to be announced in the 2025 budget. He assured that an entrepreneurial fund will be implemented in 2025 to support startups.
The budget is yet to be read. That's one of the things we'll be pushing for. As part of our manifesto, we promise that we will set up an entrepreneurship fund. And you know that we have a lot of funds in the system. We need to do an assessment of what those funds have become, whether they've turned out well or whether they've not turned out well. But it is a fund that His Excellency is committed to launching. We have few initiatives. In our manifesto, we made a 120-day pledge. The Coders program will definitely take place this year, so it will definitely find space. The Jumeirah project will definitely find space in the budget, and the National Apprenticeship program. These are bold programs and bold initiatives that we promise that in 120 days it will be launched and it will take off. So certainly these programs will find space in the budget.
The project is spearheaded by the Investment Climate Reform in collaboration with the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs, with funding support from the European Union, the British Council and GIZ.
That's all for business here on News Desk. My name is Winston Taki. For more news, visit myjoyonline.com for more updates. But let me take you straight to what is currently on the first page of our website. Dr. Abiba Zakaria appointed the new acting general commissioner of the National Insurance Commission. She initially has been 15 years working at Ghana Re. She's the board chairman of the Regal Reinsurance here in Ghana, and some more activities that has to do with insurance management in the country. We have also Cedi continuous strong performance against dollar. $1 equals 15 cedis, 75 pesos. What do you say, Fosti?
Thank you, Winston, for bringing us business. But I'm quite interested in the salary package that Dr. Biba will be enjoying. After the issue came up with the SIC, I see that when you're heading commissions, you get a lot of money. I'm looking forward to be her PA.
Very necessary.
Well, that's how we wrap up the bulletin. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Fostina Sarfo. Good morning.
Hello.